So for this project, I was thinking that we're going to do this small display, maybe 24 inches by, I don't know, 18 inches, with a tombstone kind of in the backdrop of it, glued to it. So I kind of cheated again, prepared a little bit so that you don't see me do this here. It took a little while, about 20 minutes to go on the web, look at tombstone shapes and, kind of pick one that would make sense. Then I just drew it. And then the idea is that I'd like this area to be kind of eaten up, a little bit like, some kind of, some kind of old, rugged stone. So what I did is I cut out the film that was here. This is one area where the film might be actually helpful, and I left it here. And then later on, when we spray it with this stuff, this MEK substitute, it will eat up the foam a little bit, and it will make it look like, that kind of finish. So it's going to be nice, but with the film here, it will protect that area. And so I use this cutter because it's a little faster. It's got a nice 13-inch allowance of space, so you have more room. And this is one of those displays that's freelance, so I'm not really taking measurements. My goal is to not use the measuring tape even once, but we'll see if that actually happens. And the idea that I have in mind is to do 2 levels, lower level for a smaller house and a higher level for a bigger house, and have some nice shapes around it. So going by a little bit of memory of the houses, the sizes, I'm going to start cutting some sizes over here. It will start to make more sense as we go. All right. Then I'm going to cut a couple of these pieces over here for the taller one. This one over here. Got a little piece here. I'm doing about 18 inches because I figure that will give me enough for each level. And then if that doesn't work, if it's too long, I can cut some more. So here's what I have in mind. I put this one in the back. I'll put this one over here. This one over here like that. One over here. Yes. So it's going to be a little too big. And then as I go along, I'm going to have my levels that are going to sit on top, but it's going to look better than this, I promise. All right, as you can see, there's nothing, actually I'm going to use this, nothing very scientific. But what I want to do now is do some cuts that are a little straighter so that when I glue gun this stuff together, it sticks, and when I carve it, they kind of blend together without seeing some obvious gaps. If we have some obvious gaps, we're going to use some landscaping material to help us deal with that. This is the 4-inch hot wire foam factory tool. Use it a lot because the wire itself is a little thinner than the 6-inch or the 8-inch. And if you're impatient, like I tend to be, it cuts a little faster. Now, the other way that I also like to do it is to use the sculpting tool, and then I just hold it straighter. They're selling a little device now that keeps it straight if you like, but it's fairly easy to hold it. And then the thinner the wire, the faster it cuts. This is actually a wire I put on myself because I go through them, but you can see that it's pretty good in terms of speed, and most importantly in this case, trying to stay as flat as possible. With the bow cutter, because it's so big, you have less control, and it gives you, a rougher cut. Over here, I have an area where I can put my power strip, and what I'm going to do, because I'm going to have a backdrop here, I'll do it over here. I'm going to do a slight little tunnel here, just like that, for the cord to come out for the power strip. Now I'm going to take the glue gun, which has been pre-plugged in, and just do it like that. And then this edge is really not straight, so we're going to go with the edge shape as opposed to trying to force it another way. Over here. These nails that I like to use to kind of hold them together sideways like this. And it doesn't matter actually if they stay there. The only thing is if you're carving, you have to be careful that you don't hit the nail, because you're going to feel it really good. Should not eat through the actual film, but we'll see. But can you also already see the texture going on? So it's starting to eat it up. I'm going to actually glue it on right now, and then see if we can carve around it. And then I will put it on right here. So we'll give it a minute. But sometimes when you have a gap like this over here, it's actually pretty cool to put a light inside, like a blue light or something that flashes, and it comes out through there. So don't insist necessarily on blocking that, because it can actually be used for that. Trying not to cut too much, so that, as you know, the Halloween houses especially tend to be fairly sizable, so I don't want to cut it too short. I'm going to let it sit a little bit, although it doesn't really take long. Couple of things. I'm going to do some holes in here a little later to drop the cord down in the middle. Now, one thing I want to do now is do a hole through this thing right here for my power strip to come out. So let's see over here. Just like that. Now, for the carving, and by carving I mean the style of it, we have a few options. You can take this one, and we can do kind of a rock face type of look by starting to do multiple cuts as a start, like this, and do kind of a random pattern of different shape. Another look that's used a little more, in my opinion, in the North Pole is to bend the sculpting tool, go in and out. You give it time for it to go in, go sideways, and then you get this, I'm not too sure how to explain this look, but you get this look of carving that you see all around the bases of most of the displays here. If you guys, I don't know if you guys remember, but Department 56 used to sell this set of, it was like a path and rocks, and it kind of had this look of rocks. So what I want to do here is obviously not cut so much that we're going to compromise the stability of the thing, but is still to have enough 3D effect to it so that it's not too flat. I'll start with this one here. And this is the way I do them all the time, is just go sideways, start at the bottom, go about 1/2 inch in, 1/2 inch high from the bottom, and start cutting my step here. Flatten it again, and we'll do one more. And that seam we'll hide with the moss material or something like that. Like this. Like that. Go inside there. I'm trying to be careful. I know this foam has 2 inch, went 2 inch deep when it's not carved, so I'm trying to not exceed that if I can. And then we'll use the technique we talked about and spray it. We'll spray it a little bit before we paint it, because if you spray it after, then it's going to leave white holes in there. Cover underneath, and then I do a little bit of darker streaks right here and on top here. And then now it becomes a matter of, painting is largely a matter of taste. If you like it really dark, if you like a different color. If I was doing this with the paintbrush, it will take me, certainly more time. So that's a good way to do it. Can easily put the power strip underneath and plug things in. So now I'll go back to my first mat, which was pretty close to being ready. I just need to cut one little corner over here by the stairs, and I'll lift it up so you guys can see this. So it's gonna sit right here. If you do a lot of matting like this, you start to get an eye for it, where you get pretty close to cutting it even without pinning it down. And you can't really go wrong. I mean, it doesn't have to be a certain, as long as it doesn't overhang, because if it overhangs, then it doesn't look quite natural. Obviously, the landscaping now is a little bit more Halloween than anything else, but you know, if we were going to do, say, a North Pole, then some people don't even paint it, right? You can actually leave it white. And then my last step now would be to, and I think I will stay here and do it, is to take the airbrush and do some finishing over here, pretty much everywhere, but on the tombstone, maybe do some cracks on it, and that is it for now.